Snow fell heavy across Montana. Everything was white and cold. At the edge of a cattle yard, a young woman stood tied to a wagon like an animal. Her name was Elena. Her belly was big with a baby coming soon. Her lips were dry and cracked from the cold. Her brother stood nearby, talking to a rancher who smelled like whiskey. In her hands were only rusty chains. Inside her belly, a baby's heart beat strong. "She's healthy," her brother said. His voice was flat and cold. "Strong legs. Doesn't talk much. 7 months along, but the baby will be fine." The rancher looked at her with dead eyes. "And she won't run?" "She won't," her brother smiled mean. "Not anymore." That's when it happened. A sharp kick from inside her belly. Not the usual soft movements. This was hard and urgent, like a fist knocking from inside. Elena's breath caught. Her back got stiff. Another kick, then another. It wasn't pain. It was like the baby was demanding something. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I hear you, baby. I hear you. And I promise I won't let them sell you too." Snow stuck to her eyelashes. Wind burned her face. The wagon creaked as the rancher got ready to take her to his land. Chains scraped as they pulled her toward the back. Her brother didn't look back. Money gleamed in his hand. She waited until the wagon will hit a bump. Just enough shake, just enough movement. Then Elena acted. She twisted hard, slamming her shoulder into the man beside her. The chain cracked against the rail. The rancher cursed. She rolled, feet hitting snow, knees buckling, body falling into white, into cold, into freedom. The hit knocked the air from her lungs. Her belly hit first. Pain shot up her side. But she was up before they could shout, limping, bleeding, running. Behind her, men yelled. Boots crunched in snow. But she didn't stop. Branches hit her face. Ice cut her skin. The world became a blur of gray and red and the high sound of fear. Her breath tore through her throat. Blood dotted the snow, bright red against white ground. Her boots were soaked. Her coat was thin. Her body was weak. But she ran. Because inside her was someone else. And that someone was not for sale. She could feel it, the heartbeat that wasn't hers, beating with hers like twin drums. The baby didn't cry, but she felt it reach through her fear. A presence. A push. A will. Run, Mema, run. Asterisk. So she did. Through pine trees older than history. Past crows who didn't bother to move. Over hills no human had walked that winter. Her lungs burned. Her knees screamed. Her arms held her belly like a shield. No one had ever protected her. Not her father, dead from drinking. Not her mother, buried with sadness. And certainly not her brother, now trading her body for a gun. But she could protect this child. Even if it killed her. The sun went down. Snow got deeper. The wind howled low and long like a lonely wolf. She moved slower now. Her vision blurred. Her fingers lost feeling. Still she kept going. Then her foot slipped. She fell down a small hill, landing on her side in snow so deep it covered half her body. The cold knocked her silent for a moment. She couldn't move. She couldn't think. Then another kick. Softer this time. Not urgent, not afraid. Just present. "I'm here," she whispered. Her lips were blue. Her voice cracked. "We're still here." She clawed forward, dragging herself through snow. Trees made a circle around her. Shadows crept closer. Until finally, there a light. Small and weak, but steady. It flickered through the woods just above the hill. A cabin maybe. A fire perhaps. A chance. Elena didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just moved, slow, one breath at a time, one prayer with every inch. Behind her, the snow kept her secrets for now. Ahead was warmth or death. But she would take either, as long as it wasn't a cage. She pressed her hand to her stomach again. The baby was quiet now, still, trusting. "Hold on, little one," she whispered through the dark. "Mama's not done yet." The wind changed just after dark. Marcus froze mid-swing, axe halfway through a log. He tilted his head, listening. Years alone in the woods had made his hearing sharp beyond normal needs. The sound was faint, rough breathing and something softer beneath it. He dropped the axe, moving quickly. Marcus slipped through the trees, boots crunching lightly over snow. A lifetime of quiet had made him like a shadow. He followed the broken branches and drops of blood on the snow. Not from an animal. Then he saw her. Crumpled in the snow like a broken bird. One hand curled over her belly. Her lips were blue. Her hair was matted with ice. Blood had dried along her head. The child inside her was obvious, 7 months, maybe 8. Still, her body curled as if she could shield the unborn baby with will alone. She opened her eyes. They barely focused, but her mouth formed one word: help. Marcus crouched down, studied her. His face wrinkled, not confused but thinking. Snow had half covered her already. Wolves would find her before dawn. Or the cold would. Either way, she wouldn't make it alone. He stood up straight, looking through the trees. Tracks, multiple boots, heavier than hers. Deep heel prints. Men with weight, possibly horses nearby. They would come looking. He moved fast. He grabbed pine branches, dragging them behind him to sweep over the blood trail. He kicked snow across every footprint she'd left, one by one, making the path confusing. In the brush behind her, he set up a trap. Quick and clean. Not for animals, for men. If they followed, they would limp back. He returned to her. She had stopped shivering. Marcus sighed through his nose. Then, without a word, he bent down and lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, but her breath still came soft and weak. Damn fool, he muttered. Freezing to death with a baby. What kind of person leaves you out here? He held her against his chest, then started walking. His cabin was half a mile east, hidden in thick evergreens and covered in snow. Smoke no longer rose from its chimney, it only burned when needed. He hadn't expected to use fire again this week. When they arrived, he kicked the door open with one boot, careful not to shake her too much. Inside, he put her on a bed beside the stove. The room smelled of pine tar, old wool, and iron. Clean, though bare. Marcus moved without stopping. He stirred the coals in the stove, added fresh logs, and lit the fire. Warmth crawled out across the floor like a waking animal. He took off her wet boots, set them near the fire, then wrapped thick fur over her legs. Her fingers were ice. He tucked them under the blanket with gentle pressure. Only then did he speak again. I don't feed strays, he muttered, half to himself. I don't take in people. But dying out there in my woods. That would be a waste of good snow. He sat across from her and watched as color slowly came back to her face. Her breathing got steadier. Something like peace settled in the lines of her face. He stared at the fire. It crackled orange and gold, licking the iron belly of the stove. He remembered another fire, years ago. A different night. Screaming. Smoke. His daughter's small fingers slipping from his grasp in a burning doorway. He had not lit a fire for anyone since. Now he built it again. For a woman he didn't know. For a child he'd never seen. He reached for the kettle, filled it with snow, and set it on the stove to melt. Outside, the wind howled like something ancient and angry. But inside, the cabin pulsed with warmth. An old warmth. A dangerous one. The woman slept, lips parted, hair damp but warming. Marcus said nothing more. But as he watched the fire burn, his eyes stayed on her belly. Not curious, but feeling responsible. Because whatever she was running from had no place here. And whatever came next, he would face it quietly. With axe or flame. Because for the first time in years, he had lit a fire not just to survive, but to keep someone else alive. Elena woke to the crackle of fire and the smell of pine smoke. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The world was quiet, still, and strangely soft. She blinked, her head sinking into a pillow stuffed with straw and old wool. Her fingers curled around a blanket across her lap, heavy, rough, but warm. She sat up slowly. The cabin was small, tight. Every item in it had been placed for use, not beauty. A low shelf held tin cups, a kettle, and dried herbs. Beside the stove sat a pot of stew, steam still rising. A wooden spoon rested next to it. A small candle flickered on a table. And near the fire, tucked in a corner like a secret, stood a wooden cradle. Simple, old, hand-carved. Her breath caught. The cradle wasn't new, one leg had been fixed. But it had been placed with care, angled to catch the fire's warmth. Its inside was lined with a folded quilt. She looked down at her own belly, swollen under the borrowed shirt. The baby kicked once, soft, present. She whispered, "We're safe." Marcus wasn't there, but his presence lingered in every rough kindness. A wooden comb lay beside the candle. She ran her fingers along it, it had been sanded smooth. A leather strap hung by the door, likely for her boots, now drying nearby. And beside the pot of stew, a folded piece of paper held one line in rough, squared handwriting: "Don't burn the stew. And don't lift anything heavy. Your belly is big as a grain barrel." Elena smiled. It came suddenly, like warmth breaking through frost. Later that day, Marcus returned carrying 2 bundles of firewood on one shoulder. He nodded at her without ceremony. "You're up." "I am." "Good." He set the wood down by the stove. She watched him as he moved. Quick, exact, like a man who had learned to waste nothing. His beard was thick, his shirt patched at the elbow, and his boots left tracks of snow that melted in slow puddles on the wood floor. "I don't know how to thank you," she said quietly. "Don't. I mean it. I don't do things to be thanked," he muttered, pulling off his gloves. "You needed heat. That's all." She nodded. He grabbed the stew pot, smelled it, then added more salt. "Eat while it's hot." When she reached for a bowl, he paused. "Not that one. The blue one's lighter. Less to carry." Elena blinked. "You've thought of everything, haven't you?" He grunted, spooning soup. She sat at the small table, sipping slowly. The warmth filled her chest and belly like something holy. Marcus didn't sit. He moved around the room, checking shutters, adjusting the fire. Always moving. Her eyes drifted across the cabin. Something on the mantel caught her attention, a carved frame, uneven, delicate, clearly handmade. Inside, no photograph. Just a name etched in soft, looping script, *Lily. She looked up. "Your daughter." Marcus froze mid-step for a second. His jaw tensed. Then, "Yes." "Is she not here?" "She was. Long time ago." He breathed out. "Fire took her." House didn't stand much longer after that. Elena's hands went still on the bowl. "I'm sorry." He nodded once. "Me too." She rose slowly, walked over to the cradle by the fire. She ran a hand along its edge. This was hers. Yes. Silence stretched between them. Not heavy, just wide, like a valley where grief still echoed. "I cry for mine too," Elena whispered. "And she's not even born yet." Marcus turned away slightly. "I'm not good at saving people. Never was." "You saved me." He shook his head. "No. I just hate seeing people freeze." He grabbed his coat and headed for the door. Before he left, he added, voice low, "But I can keep someone warm. That I can still do." And then he was gone again, into the snow. Inside, Elena sat near the cradle. The fire cracked. The shadows danced. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was waiting to be thrown away. She felt, somehow, home. The wind howled like a woman crying. It slid through the cracks of the old stone house, brushing the floor with fingers of ice, rattling the shutters like ghost knuckles. But inside, the fire burned high, throwing wild gold light across thick beams and old shelves lined with jars of herbs, dust, and stories. Elena was on the bed, knees bent, breath rough. Sweat covered her forehead, mixing with tears she didn't remember crying. Her hands gripped the wool blanket beneath her like it was rope keeping her from sinking into something vast and dark. Marcus stood nearby, stiff and pale. His shirt was damp with sweat. His knuckles were white where he held a cloth basin. "I don't know how to," he started. The old woman cut him off with a sharp look. "You keep trees standing in storms. You keep fire alive in broken stoves. You keep wolves away from things worth protecting. She placed a hand on his chest. Tonight, you keep her. He nodded, silent. Then he knelt beside Elena. I'm here, he said. That's all I know to be. Elena gritted her teeth through another wave of pain. That's enough. The old woman worked with quiet skill, hands never shaking. She whispered in a language neither of them knew, laying out cloths and herbs, checking the baby's position, boiling water on the fire. The wind screamed louder, slapping the windows. Elena's body buckled again. She cried out, one long, deep sound torn from someplace ancient. Marcus caught her hand. It surprised them both. You're not alone, he said. Her eyes locked with his. In them, she didn't see fear. She saw stillness, like trees that had stood for centuries. Breathe with me, he whispered. She did. Another wave of pain. Her hands dug into his shirt, pulling, anchoring. He didn't flinch. He held the basin. He lit another candle. He pressed a cold cloth to her burning forehead. Tell me what hurts, he said. Everything, she gasped. Then give it to me. She sobbed, not in pain but in trust. Thunder cracked overhead. The fire flared as if answering. The room felt both impossibly small and larger than anything she had ever known. The old woman leaned forward. Now, girl. Push. Elena screamed. Marcus didn't move. Another push. She nearly passed out. Then a sound. Not wind, not fire. A cry. Sharp, cutting, fierce. The child was born into this storm, between two people who had never asked for anything but were given everything in a single screaming instant. The old woman lifted the baby, cleaned and wrapped her in cloth, placed her against Elena's chest. She's strong, the woman said. Like her mother. Elena stared at the tiny face, slick with life, eyes blinking into light. The baby wailed again, fists balled. Elena laughed, soft and cracked, but real. She's perfect. Marcus stood frozen. She's yours too, Elena said. He shook his head. No. But she reached out, took his rough hand, and pressed it to the child. She was born because you kept the fire burning. Because you stayed when no one else did. You held the storm back long enough for her to come. His breath caught. The baby stopped crying, eyes drifting open. You kept the fire for me, Elena whispered. Now I'll keep her for us. For a long time, Marcus said nothing. He just stood there, the storm wailing outside, a child breathing beneath his fingers, and something like warmth rising in his chest that hurt more than any axe swing ever had. He smiled. Almost. The cradle was finished by dawn. Marcus had carved it from pine, sanded it smooth, and etched flowers along its curves, simple wild blooms, the kind that sprang up near rivers in spring. It was stronger than the old one. Made to last through winters, through weight, through time. He placed it beside the fire, then stepped back, rubbing the ache in his shoulder. Elena came in with the baby cradled against her chest, a blanket wrapped tight around them both. She paused at the sight. You made this? He shrugged. The old one squeaked. Elena ran her hand over the carvings, eyes misting. These flowers. I used to pick them with my mother. Before everything. She'd want the child to see them again, he said, turning away. His voice was flat. That night, Elena hummed lullabies she hadn't sung since childhood. The melodies were soft and strange in the air, like ghosts returning to the world. Marcus sat nearby, sharpening a blade, eyes half closed. He never joined in, but he never complained either. He was always near, silent, steady, and never farther than the next breath. Then one afternoon, the dogs began to growl. Footsteps approached. A wagon. Marcus stepped outside, axe in hand. Elena stayed in the shadows, heart pounding. 3 men got off their horses. The one in front held a paper. We're looking for a runaway. White woman. Gave birth recently. Her brothers put up money for her. Marcus said nothing. The man stepped closer. We were told a woman like that lives around these parts. Marcus raised the axe slowly. She's a criminal. She's a mother. The man smirked. You hiding her? Marcus's eyes turned to steel. You want her, he said. "You'll have to take me first." Something in his stance changed. Not just fighting back, but something darker. A weight to his frame. A storm behind his calm. The kind of threat that came not from words but from men who had nothing left to lose but one small light they'd sworn to keep alive. The man hesitated. The second rider nudged his shoulder. "Not worth it." He's serious. Marcus didn't move. The men got back on their horses, casting looks back, but they didn't stay. When it was quiet again, Elena stepped out from the shadows. She held her daughter tightly. She looked at Marcus. Really looked, the worn lines in his face, the weather-beaten coat, the rough hands still wrapped around the axe handle. And the eyes, not cruel,